practice, pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't missing my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's out the Capitol Hills rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and ponder getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me? I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it
I hate
for
these
us.
average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my own flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on. To the hearse, party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete, I'm a verbal athlete. Deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
I say to you, community, let's take up space. We weren't supposed to make it through the vast Atlantic or back to the door of no return. So shine like the gold in our skin and the first porch light ever lit. 'Cause we lit and we stay lit. It is with love that everything we touch is ablaze with brilliance. We made jazz and had the blues so hard we're still nodding our heads, but this time we sampled What a Wonderful World. What a way to escape the pain and revel in joy. To the Marsha P. Johnsons who woke up our pride. To the Jimi Hendrix who burned his guitar. For the tennis-playing sisters, for those who didn't make it. And I promise not to fake it. We still want our 40 acres, a mule, and reparations. To the barbers and stylists who still carry on tradition. For the laughter through the tough times, the dead and the living that we hold sacred. To be a people who built empires out of sticks and stones and turned the names they called us into songs. We are still here.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. Today is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021, man. The year is rapidly coming to an end here. Flying solo today. Trey Holiday is actually literally flying back from the Virgin Islands. She'll be here tomorrow along with guest host G. Prez Aspie. I'll be out tomorrow, but G. Prez Aspie's filling in with for me. and he'll be here with Trey on a holiday tomorrow. Today, man, big show. We've been talking about this, the Washington State Civil Rights Coalition and the complaint that they filed with the U.S. Department of Justice against Governor Inslee in the state of Washington. And we've actually got Bob Armstead, who's going to be joining us a little later here in the show to talk about all the developments there. And we mentioned yesterday that Representative Adam Smith, Congressman Adam Smith, wrote a letter actually to the Department of Justice encouraging them to review this complaint that has been filed. So we definitely want to dig more into that. Also, we're going to be joined by one of the staff later on today, down from Bellingham, one of our editors, Brady McAtee. He's in the house, and we're going to be showcasing some of the work he's been working on over here. You know, we always like to uplift the team. Let me dive right into it. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I want to remind you that right now is the perfect opportunity for you to tag and share the stream. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with people you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. I want to give a big shout out to our partners over at the South Seattle Emerald and also KBCS 91.3 over at Bellevue College. I want to remind you that you can listen to the Morning Update Show anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. We got SoundCloud coming up over there, but you can also check us out on Google, on Spotify, iTunes, any of your favorite places that you listen to your podcast. All you got to do is search Converge Media Network. Also, a daily reminder from our friends over at Public Health, Seattle, King County, that if you are in need or want of a COVID-19 vaccine, that, man, it's readily available. We've got a link that's coming in over there in the comments as well. You can click that link if you need to get vaccinated or if you want a booster shot or if you need testing, or there's a lot of people that are hesitant. So if you got questions, you know, always lots of space and grace as well for people who might be hesitant around the vaccine. So that link right there is real helpful in getting you that information. All that said, how we doing over there, Mr. Director? We're good? Okay, good stuff. So I got to give a shout out here. So yesterday, the big fella, I know so many people, you follow Jake Gravbrod. He was in Hawaii. He's been in Hawaii, and some of this stuff is just amazing that he's been capturing over there. I fear we're going to lose Jake to Hawaii here over time, because he really loves it out there. So Jake was out yesterday. It was a big day for us. We had the Pacific Northwest Ballet was in the building, and we'll put this up here first. We had our photographer filling yesterday named Liv Lyons, and we'll put this. And Liv, there's actually wrote a blog post. You can go to we've got a link right there we can put in there about her experience coming here to the Black Media Matters studio. It was real nice yesterday. And actually, we got a few photos that Liv took. We'll put those up. Yeah. That's Cece right there, one of the ballet dancers. And that's Damiel. And she got him on the wall. Good. You know, it's a big deal to get on the wall. And so big shout out to Liv Lyons. And you can go to our blog, wherewecconverge.com/post. And you can read her thoughts. It was her first time here in the studio, and she has a blog post up there right now. Something else I wanted to put into the show today is a clip from over the weekend over Friends of the Waterfront down at Pier 62. They had the Soul Holiday Market in conjunction with Africa Town Community Land Trust. And I wanted to spotlight this, and we're going to be pulling out quite a few clips from that. But it's up and coming company, and this is one that if you've been following us here on Converge from way back, you know, Po' Boy and things like from way back, and Basa Gordon caught up with Sean Silv and Onika Gilmay there at Pier 62 and talked a little bit more about their business.
Hey guys, we're back, and of course we are still at Pier 62 for Soul Holiday Market. I'm Basa Gordon, and right now I am being joined by the owners of Po' Boys and Things. How y'all doing? Tings. Okay. Po' Boys and Tings. All right. If you want to introduce yourselves and then also give us a little story about Po' Boys and Tings.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sean Silv, owner of Po' Boy and Tings. That's my lady. I'll let her introduce herself. and
Peace.
partner in crime on this journey. We've been serving the town po' boys for the past 4 years, doing festivals. We just got a food truck this year in June. We've been live since June, July, and business is booming right now. We've been moving around the town. You can follow us at Po' Boy and Tings on Facebook and IG to see our schedule. We post it every week, and come get served.
What are some of the things that, like, type of po' boys that you can get if someone pulled up on you guys?
Oh man, we got the tofu, which is
Okay.
amazing. Tofu po' boy. We got the catfish, shrimp, chicken, oyster. It's amazing, and he comes with the sauce and everything's from scratch.
And
the
I've
seasoning.
had one. It's so
good.
It is so good. I think
So
I had
good.
a shrimp one when I did it. It was at Umoja Fest.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not even really
Right?
a po' boy fan, to be quite frank. I'm really not. And at that moment, I was like, I've been obviously eating the wrong po' boys. Wait a minute.
Well, what's great is that you could also get a po' wrap, or you can get a po' salad, which Marie loves. Marie loves the po' salad, so you could there's other options as well. You
Okay.
just don't want the po' boy. And it
Yeah.
comes with the garlic fries of the seasoned fries. And we're just out here blessing the community. And what are you
With
doing,
our
babe?
flavor fingers.
And what are you doing? You're saving
saving the world one po' boy at a time. But we also do the tings. We do specials. So like today we're doing shrimp and grits along with the po' boys, or we do jambalaya or gumbo or whatever. So you follow us. We'll post our special along with our schedule every Monday.
Okay, and then where can they find you guys in the city?
We're not stationary. We
Okay.
move around. We're really at a bunch of dispensaries and breweries around the town. So you really have to follow us on social media to see where we're going to be. Primarily, we're at Heritage Distillery in Ballard, Ounces Brewery in West Seattle, and we have a contract with the Pier. So we'll be here the next year when it
Shout
gets
out to the
warm
Pier.
again.
Shout out to the Pier.
62.
Shout out to the Pier. This is
Total
amazing.
African Town.
All
Shout out to
right.
Africa
Like
Town.
King,
Shout out to Converge.
Besa,
Yeah.
Come on.
Marie.
Yeah, all the peoples. all the peoples. And by the way, my
Everybody.
name is Be Unique. You know what I'm saying? I got pulled in.
The first
You know,
lady.
he said he pulled me in on this and was like, "Yo, I got this business." You know, and I'm all about that business. So,
I know that's
and I've
right.
always wanted to work in the food industry. So, this right here is so fun for me. Like seeing the people light up, and that he has such quality food. I could just see the people just be excited about it, and that makes me feel great. I love the customer service aspect of it, and just looking for it to grow. What's up next is getting the sauce in stores.
Ooh.
And the seasoning.
And
Yes.
the seasoning in stores, and just collabing with a lot of different other vendors and
Hopefully we get Keek on the truck and do his beef,
beef
anyhow.
anyhow.
Put him to work.
I know that's right.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, you guys, we are here till 5 o'clock. Definitely pull up, get yourself a
So much good
po'
stuff.
boy, and also make sure you guys follow them on social media. That way you can know where they're going to be
Po'
at
boy
in
and
the city.
tings. Po' boy and tings. Brah.
Yes, we're gonna go to a quick break, and of course, when we come back, we have more interviews for you guys.
Respect.
All right, that was this Sunday, or this last Sunday down there at Pier 62. Friends of the Waterfront Soul Holiday Market. What's your favorite po' boy, Curtis? Shrimp po' boy. Anybody else in here eat po' boys before? Lobster po' boy. Boy, you rich. you know, it started off as po' boy because that's all the po' boys could afford. Anybody else in here have po' boy before? Which one? Okay. They got so here's the thing. Po' boy and tings. Here's what I'll tell you is this. I'm gonna give you a heads up. Tell them the Big O sent you, and they're gonna give you the prawns, the fried oyster, and catfish or something. It's all in one. It's crazy. I know I'm sitting always talking about how I'm trying to lose weight. All right. So look, we're gonna take a quick break here, man. A real serious topic, man. We're gonna be joined by Bob Armstead, Washington State Civil Rights Coalition. And, you know, we've been kind of reporting on bits and pieces around this story, and it's always best to go to the source. Like I said, man, they filed a complaint with the Department of Justice against Governor Inslee in the state of Washington, a discrimination complaint. And I mean, somebody's paying attention out in Washington, D.C. Congressman Adam Smith has also written a letter to the Department of Justice asking them to consider it. We're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're joined by Bob Armstead. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Pacific Northwest Ballet is thrilled to be back on stage with your favorite holiday tradition, the Nutcracker. Brighten your holidays with this timeless tale, performed by PNB's incredible company of dancers to the live magic of the PNB Orchestra, playing Tchaikovsky's classic score. Treat your loved ones to the Nutcracker at Seattle Center's McCaw Hall. Tickets and health and safety information at pnb.org.
All right, well, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. And by the way, we know now, December 22nd, as Converge Night at the Pacific Northwest Ballet, Converge Night at the Nutcracker, December 22nd. We'll have all the details. You know, we want to take a bunch of you guys with us over there to see the Nutcracker. Trey Holiday's back tomorrow, so she'll have details all about it. But December 22nd is where we're going. All right. Mr. Director, please bring in Bob Armstead.
Good morning, Amari.
How are you, sir? Welcome to the Morning Update Show.
Well, thank you. It's a very beautiful, very needed show.
Thank you, sir. So, first, I'll let you give an introduction of yourself to our audience and tell a little about your organization, and then we'll talk what's going on.
Okay. My name is Bob Armstead, and I am a member of the Washington State Civil Rights Coalition. The Civil Rights Coalition, CRC, as we call ourselves, is a coalition of civil rights organizations, the clergy, veterans groups, small business associations, and other interested parties in the state of Washington.
Okay. And now we've been, like I said, we kind of been reporting on bits and pieces of this because the documentation is, what's the word, voluminous? it's a lot of stuff. And, you know, haven't been able to get through everything. But what we've been reporting on is that your organization has actually filed a discrimination complaint against Governor Inslee and the state of Washington. Maybe you could tell us more about that.
Yes, I can. And before I start, I would like to say that there are 21 organizations and individuals involved in this complaint. I am speaking on their behalf today. And if it's okay with you, I would like to mention who they are.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Okay. Reverend Dr. Carrie Anderson from First AME Church, Bishop Zachary Bruce, pastor of Freedom Church, Claude Burfay, first vice president of the Seattle King County NAACP, Dominique Davis, executive director of Community Passageways, Bill Dickens of the Black Collective, Ernest Dunstan, President Emeritus of the Seattle Breakfast Group. Hayward Evans, co-convener, MLK Jr. Commemoration Committee. Reverend Dr. Robert Jeffrey, pastor, New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. Jonathan Johnson, President, Tacoma, Washington, NAACP. Richard Johnson, Kent, Black Action Commission. Roberto Jordan, Chair, Festival Sandiata. Raymond Miller, Chair, NAACP Armed Services and Veteran Affairs Committee, Alaska, Oregon, Washington. Sade Moore, Chair, Seattle King County Martin Luther King Jr. Organizing Coalition. Lyle Quasim, Chair, Seattle Pierce County Back Collective. Eddie Rye Jr., co-founder, Black Contractors Coalition, Community Coalition for Contracts, and several other things. Robert Stevens, Commander, Seattle Chapter, National Association of Black Veterans. Reverend Dr. Paul A. Stute Sr., Senior Pastor, Trinity Baptist Church. Pastor Lawrence Willis, President, United Black Christian Clergy. Reverend Dr. Harriet G. Walden, Founder, Mothers for Police Accountability. And Bishop Reggie C. Witherspoon, Church of God in Christ, Seattle, Tacoma jurisdiction.
Now, I was about to say that's a lot of different people and organizations there, sir.
Yes, it is. And we all have had the same experiences. We are all part of community-based organizations whose membership have had the same types of discriminatory practices against them that has caused the very disparate impacts that we've had in our community. Those of you that have been around probably less years than I am a little older than most of you, remember what the CD was like composed to what it's like now. These discriminatory practices have caused substantial demographic changes in our area. And if I may, what I'd like to do is just to read the introduction and overview to the complaint. The complaint, as you stated, the complaint itself is approximately 11 pages long, but there are 37 attachments to the complaint. And each of those attachments describes specific actions related to the complaint. But very briefly, the African American citizens of the state of Washington have been discriminated against by the state of Washington and every governor since 1998, including the current governor, Jay Inslee. The state and its governors have attempted, actually used Washington State Initiative 200, I-200, adopted a state law, RCW 49.6.400, as justification for their discriminatory practices. I-200 is a state law that was enacted to not allow lesser qualified persons to be hired or contracted with overqualified persons. Gary Locke, the governor of Washington State in 1998, issued Governor's Directive number 9801, which greatly exceeded the initiative and the law. His initiative basically ended all affirmative action programs and policies in Washington State. This flawed and incorrect interpretation of I-200 has caused extreme harm to the African American community in Washington State. Discrimination against African Americans in Washington State has been both allowed and encouraged, resulted in extreme disparate impacts on all areas of life for African Americans. There have been extraordinary losses in education, housing, employment, business, and every other category of life since Governor's Directive 9801. And in the complaint, we go on to establish and confirm, the reasons for our complaint. And we start by actually including a copy of the initiative, a copy of the law that resulted from the initiative, and a copy of Gary Locke's interpretation of that initiative and the law that followed it, and give examples of how he has exceeded the intent of the initiative and the law itself.
So if I could jump in here real quick, you can put two up now. Well, actually, can you go to wide real quick, Salman? Put the wide on. You can put a full screen. I just wanted to point something out. There we go. So, but before I move forward, and I have a question for you. When you talk about the Black people history here in the city of Seattle, and especially the Central District, I want to point out to our viewers, that's why what this wall here means so much to us, because it's a visual representation, Al Smith's photos of Black people and culture and history in the city of Seattle, especially in the Central District. You bring us back up. So, Mr. Armstead, or what you're saying, or what I understand, is that the law was passed and the governor misinterpreted, or it was a misinterpretation, and that misinterpretation, which clearly affected Black people, stayed. The misinterpretation of the law brought harm to our community, and every governor since Locke has gone along with that misinterpretation.
That is correct. And more specifically, Governor Locke misinterpreted, or his staff misinterpreted the law and issued a directive. That directive 9801 is what all state agencies and other public agencies in the state of Washington have been following since 1998. But as we point out in our complaint, in 2002, the Washington State Supreme Court was asked by the Ninth Circuit to take a look at the law to see if, in fact, it did away with all affirmative action. Their conclusion was that it did not. They affirmed that it did prohibit lesser qualified people in firms from getting jobs and contracts over people that were qualified. But it very directly stated that it did not end all affirmative action. And so that is why we're saying every governor, including Gary Locke, had knowledge of the Supreme Court's opinion. But in addition to that, the Washington State Attorney General issued an opinion where he very clearly stated that I-200 and the law 49.60.41 did not eliminate all affirmative action in Washington State. And actually, in the Attorney General's opinion, he actually gave examples of areas where things could be done to correct the harm that has been caused by the misinterpretation of I-200. The State Attorney General requested opinions from others in the state in the process of issuing his opinion, one of which was the city attorney for the city of Seattle. And the city attorney for Seattle basically issued a statement that was almost exactly in line with what the Washington State Attorney General had issued. In addition to that, it is against state and federal law to discriminate with or without I-200. And the law provide remedies for when there has been demonstrated uh, cases of discrimination. And one of the uh, major portions of our complaint has to do with the fact that in just the last 10 years, there has been a minimum of 9 disparity studies in Washington state. And a little background on disparity studies. Uh, the U.S. Department of Transportation has as a requirement of receiving federal funding through USDOT that the recipients of their funding be able to demonstrate that they are using those funds in an open and fair manner and that there is not discrimination. And one of the ways that they determine that is to have those agencies perform disparity studies. Now, these disparity studies have been challenged from the lowest to the highest courts, and they have all agreed with their ability to do what is required by law. Now, in each of those 9 disparity studies, and they include disparity studies done by the state of Washington, by the city of Tacoma, by the Port of Seattle, by Sound Transit, by the Washington State Department of Transportation, and others. There's a category in the disparity studies where they are required to show and demonstrate whether or not there have been discriminatory practices. And a wording that they use in those studies when they start talking about that and they're giving these statistics, and that wording is except for discrimination because there's no other way to explain these occurrences. But anyway, in each of these studies, they have categories where they basically say that there's no impact, there's some impact, there's uh, a good amount of impact, or there's substantial impact. In the case of African Americans, in each of those studies, it shows that there have been substantial impact due to discrimination and other practices that have led to these disparate impacts.
Well, sir, let me just hop in here right here. It's like I think that most people who know the history or our history here in this city know that, like, it's been government meddling and all kinds of other things that's directly impacted our neighborhood. And even it's words on paper, kinda, but with this House Bill 1918 that went through in 2019, where it outlined, passed both houses unanimously and signed by Governor Inslee, where it said that, like, hey, there's been actions taken or by government that directly impacted in a negative way the legacy Black community in the Central District of Seattle. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's like, knowing how it's gone down with us in our community and knowing from redlining and everything else. Something interesting today, the county just announced that people can finally take the covenants off their titles beginning next year. The racist covenants that were on the titles, imagine in Martin Luther King County, those racist covenants are still on the titles here, and starting next year they'll take them off. It's been a long history, but why now on this complaint?
The now is because it's overdue, most importantly, but specifically in terms of our filing the complaint, there are 3 things. First, President Biden signed an executive order, a equity executive order, and where he has committed that the federal government would do certain things in order to change some of the impacts that you just described. Number two, the state of Texas, through a project that was in Houston, Texas, they were experiencing and having the same kinds of impacts that we had here with Sound Transit when they went through the Rainier Valley, partially because of the president's executive order. A group of community-based organizations in Houston, Texas, along with the assistance of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, filed a complaint against the state of Texas Department of Transportation, listing the same types of harms that you just described. In that case, particularly, there was at least 1,000 businesses, churches, houses, and other things that were going to be destroyed, all of which were in the African American community. If the state of Texas was allowed to proceed with that project, the U.S. Department of Transportation, based on the president's executive order, put a halt to that project until the community groups could work out an agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation as to how to best proceed without causing all of the disruption and disparate impacts that they were causing in the city of Houston. And thirdly, CRC, along with the Black Collective and all of the other 21 organizations that are part of this complaint, we have been meeting with the governor, with the governor's representative, with federal agencies such as the Federal Highway Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, and others for years, attempting to get changes to some of the very negative impacts that are happening to us in this state without any progress being made. In fact, the harm continues. The harm is greater now than before.
You know, that's real interesting, and I want to get to one more thing here. This letter that the congressman wrote, but real quick, it's real interesting, especially when you talk about Governor Inslee. And you're saying that things just haven't moved forward in your communication with his administration. Okay, Governor Inslee, he's from the city. You know what I'm saying? He went to Ingram High School. You know, his dad actually, his late father was assistant.
Lost the audio.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
Pacific Northwest Ballet is thrilled to be back on stage with your favorite holiday tradition, the Nutcracker. Brighten your holidays with this timeless tale, performed by PNB's incredible company of dancers to the live magic of the PNB Orchestra, playing Tchaikovsky's classic score. Treat your loved ones to the Nutcracker at Seattle Center's McCaw Hall. Tickets and health and safety information at pnb.org.
All right. Can you hear? I think we're back right now. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So what I was saying though, and I'm not sure where our audio dropped off, and a good save over there, guys, is that Governor Inslee, he went to Ingram High School. His late father was the coach, 1955 Garfield High School champion, was assistant coach, the 1955 Garfield championship team. I think that he mentioned one time he might still have that trophy at his house. So it isn't like he ain't seen his whole life black people and the central district and everything else. And so it's real interesting to me that you said that it's been failure to progress with Governor Inslee and administration down there, especially when this last session he proclaimed an equity budget of wanted to put hundreds of millions of dollars out there to maybe repair past harm. But here you guys are with documenting clearly all these things to the point that you've now pushed it to the Department of Justice. It's just a surprise to me that things haven't proceeded with Governor Inslee.
And Omari, the third point is exactly that. We had not been able to get any affirmative action in terms of addressing the problems here in Washington State. So we started talking to members of the Congressional Black Caucus, some of whom served with Jay when he was in the Congress. And they were surprised and appalled to hear, our statements to the effect that we had to start supplying documentation to them. And when they saw it, their response was, "My God." But then they told us, we cannot do anything for you until and unless you're willing to file a complaint with the Department of Justice. So that was the third motivating factor in our deciding to submit this complaint.
And now we're going to put this up here real quick. We have an overlay. This is a letter from Congressman Adam Smith to the Department of Justice and really asking them to consider this complaint that you filed. And so clearly at the highest levels, this complaint is being taken very seriously.
It is, and we hope that it's taken more seriously. We understand that both the state and the governor, who are the focus of this complaint, will start doing whatever they can do to squash or mitigate the complaint. So one of the things that I would like to ask of you and your audience is, Adam Smith is my congressional representative, and as they were able to see in the letter, he addressed the fact that I, as his constituent, had approached him about this. If the people in your audience would also have similar conversations with their congressional representative, to get them to write letters, at least requesting that the Justice Department follow through on the investigation. At this point, all we want them to do is to look at the information. And individuals talk about the size of the complaint, the amount of information in it. Believe me, it took us about 5 weeks to come down to this number. There is substantially more information that is available. And also, I would like to say to your audience that we initially addressed disparity studies and things that have been done by public agencies. And these are studies that are done by public agencies, and these are their results. No one in the community had any influence in those. But in addition to those, private sector organizations, such as the Washington State Employers for Equity, which is composed primarily of Challenge Seattle and the Washington State Roundtable, they conducted a study through the Boston Consulting Group. And the results of that study are even more telling than the disparity studies.
Right.
The Seattle Foundation, in their annual reports from years
I
back.
think that, yeah, I guess I think that when I've seen all this, not everything, but man, I mean, there's so many emails, so many documents that are out there. I gotta let you go, sir. But before I do, is there any website or email that you might want people to hit up, or is your advice to them? You want them to follow up with their congressional representative?
I'd like for them to do both. I can be reached. My email is rcarmstead@gmail.com. Real simple, rcarmstead@gmail.com. My telephone number is 425-444-2706, or they can speak with any of the other 20 organizations and individuals that are a part of this complaint to the Justice Department.
All right. Bob Armstead, Washington State Civil Rights Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you very much, Omari, for having me.
All right. We're going to take a quick break right now. Got a handcrafted motion graphic over there. When we come back, there he is, Brady McAtee. We're going to be talking about some of the editing and some of the filmmaking that's been going on over here at Converge. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Lisa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more, before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
From Lincoln Center Theater that brought you The King and I and South Pacific comes a revival of the most perfect musical of all time, My Fair Lady.
Playing the Paramount Theater December 28th to January 2nd. Tickets at stgpresents.org.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Man, that was an informative segment right there. There's a lot going on. I think there's going to be a lot of noise being made, and we'll see what comes out of all this noise. But when you got people in Congress, and now you've also activated the Congressional Black Caucus to come and look into this. So, but right now on the set, joined by a young guy, Brady McAtee. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the Morning Update Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
No, good stuff. So Brady, to let everybody know, Brady is one of our editors here at Converge. And so when you guys see a lot of these segments and, the way it comes together and it feels good and everything else, that's a lot of stuff that Brady's working on. And Brady is also a filmmaker as well, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of narrative movies. I like period pieces and Westerns and things like that. Things that are harder to recreate and you have to put more time into set decoration or things like that. So yeah, I do film and photography, real estate photography, all kinds of photography and video.
How old are you again?
22.
Boy, 22 years old from Montana.
That's right. Yeah.
But lives in Bellingham, right? I'm gonna tell you, man, Converge is some motley crew over here, man. You know what I'm saying? It's really dope and eclectic. And before we jump into it, though, yesterday, me and you were here by ourselves, and we spent some time looking at this wall. And you had a few comments about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a very deep appreciation for Black music from that era, especially, jazz and just the culture that was around it. I know a lot of history and about just that era of music. And I don't know, I just look at this and it's like it's like literally being in a movie or something. You see this stuff in the community that they had like going on in these jazz clubs and things. That would probably the craziest, most fun you could have on a Saturday night at a jazz club. It's just going crazy in there. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. All right, so we want to play some. We're actually premiering something right here. This was actually shot about 6 weeks ago. Steve Hickey and Salman Abukashi went over to Spokane, Washington, and caught up with Ginger Ewing of an organization over there, arts organization called Terrain. And we have you here because you were the editor on this segment as well. This is Terrain Spokane.
Terrain is about 13 and a half years old. We started as a one-time annual event, had no intention of starting an arts organization, but here we are. Really kind of the impetus behind the original event. It was myself, my now husband, and 3 of our friends wanted to solve kind of multiple problems that we saw happening in Spokane. One, if you grew up in Spokane, this narrative was told to you, and that was if you were going to be quote unquote successful or have fun in your 20s, you were going to do it anywhere but Spokane, Washington. And despite that kind of massive brain drain that was happening, there were these really amazing pockets of creativity that they were all siloed from each other. We had, visual artists over here, we had musicians over here, we had the literary world over here, but there was no real kind of collaboration or synergy happening within those groups. We also felt like there was a big divide between what we kind of deemed as emerging artists, kind of the burgeoning undercurrent of the creative culture in Spokane, and the more established artists. And then kind of a third issue or problem that we saw is who was getting invited to engage with art and who wasn't. And really that first kind of flagship event that we did was wanting to get all of those groups of people together in a single room for a single evening to see what would happen. About an hour and a half into that first event, we realized that we had tapped into something pretty special. Fast forward the next year, and it was right around the time that we did the initial Terrain. And people started asking if we were going to throw the event again. And we kind of looked around at each other and said, sure, why not? I should have mentioned that very first Terrain that we did, we literally had to beg 30 artists to participate in it, but about 1,500 people showed up. So we decided to do the second Terrain, and our artists doubled. We had about 60 artists participate in that event, and about 3,000 people showed up. And then fast forward to 2019 was the last time we could do the big flagship event pre-pandemic, and we represented 274 artists and 13,000 people come through the event in a single evening. It's great to throw this event that is pride of place and celebrates who we are as a community, but what is the infrastructure? What are the resources and tools that our creative community needs in order to kind of retain that talent here in Spokane? We needed to connect artists to art patrons. We needed to start to advocate to city officials and to state officials around the value of art. We needed to start to create, again, ways for artists and creatives in our community to actually make money doing what they love. So we started another event called Bazaar, which is a big art market that we do every year. That event has grown tremendously again. Artists tend to sell about $125,000 worth of art in a single day at that event. And again, 10 to 15,000 people come down. We have a winter version of that called Bazaar. And then we have things that are ongoing programming. So we have this gallery space that we're sitting in. We have a retail storefront called From Here. 102 artists sell out of that storefront. So in addition to financially supporting artists, in addition to mentoring artists, our role is really to break down systems of oppression. It's about pushing back against white supremacy. It's again about amplifying underrepresented voices. It's about creating and building community. We are a community building organization, and art and creativity is our tool, is our resource in order to do that. So again, we've grown tremendously since that flagship event. But really along the way, and we're continuing to evolve and grow as an organization. We're still pretty scrappy. But really along the way, it's been a conversation with our community, and the programs and events that we do are in response to that. My everyday, work day is anything from answering emails to working with city officials to shutting down streets to making sure we can pay our rent, fundraising, a little bit of everything to kind of keep all of these different programs and events alive and thriving for the organization. We aren't seeing the kinds of financial investment from the city around arts and culture that we need to see, just flat out. When you're looking at cities our size, the Boise's of the world, the Spokanes of the world, we are woefully underfunded. I do think that there are really well-intended folks within city government that do get it, and we are slowly starting to see the needle kind of go in the right direction. There's only like a handful of even corporations that support arts in general. Terrain does not get any city funding. We don't get state funding. Everything that we kind of scrap together in order to survive is by our own means. After the murder of George Floyd, all of a sudden within philanthropy, it's like the woke thing is to support Black artists or artists of color. And to be truthful, some of the thoughts that I've had, and again, conversations with artists reflect this, is where have you been? We've been doing this work always. How do we do the work that we are trying to do? How do we welcome the financial support that we need in order to do our work within the confines of a white supremacist, patriarchal, hierarchical structure? At one point, I literally was like, we gotta make Terrain a B Corp and not a nonprofit. But I do think that there are philosophies and ways of being that are starting to kind of bubble up in the surface that give nonprofits the language they need in order to continue to be a nonprofit, but on their own terms. So one of the things that I have been really struggling with over the last 10 months and after the murder of George Floyd was really, I was more angry than I have ever been in my entire life. And part of my kind of lens and perspective was I really felt really strongly that Terrain's position and role in this community and our work spoke for itself. I started to see, Harriet Tubman being projected on the Robert E. Lee Monument in Virginia. I saw teenage Black ballerinas performing in front of that same statue, and I started to recognize that maybe just saying our work isn't enough. Maybe it was my role as a Black female arts administrator in a very white town. Maybe it was my job to use this platform to lead the revolution. That's been a not kind of a stance that I came to overnight, but I'm really fired up about. Sorry, you might have to bleep that out. Much like Seattle did, we had the words or the phrase Black Lives Matter in white paint as a template that then artists came in and kind of filled out. And in the beginning days, we had people, driving by saying white power. We had people coming into the parking lot revving their engines. Several of the artists were harassed, but I will tell you this. While there was an incredible amount of tension when those letters were white and on the side of the building, as they began to fill in, the energy of that entire block shifted. Even the people who had a problem with it, in the first few days they were right there, then they got kind of a little bit further back and then a little bit further back. And I have a couple of different theories about that. I think whether you liked the mural or not, you saw the humanity in the person who was creating that. And so that changed, again, the dynamics of the space and the conversations that were happening. People spend 45 minutes per letter, and they'd bring entire families down to discuss with their children, with their significant others, what was happening in the mural, what could possibly be the message that the artists were trying to convey. They were meeting the artists and having conversations. From a very early age, I knew that I needed to be in conversation with and service to my community. And growing up, for me, that was really black and white. Make sure people's bellies are full. Make sure, kids are getting education, kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and meeting kind of that lowest common denominator. Yes, we need to feed people's bellies, but we also need to feed their hearts, their minds, and their souls. The work never feels done, but when I can take a step back, or I literally have someone come to me and say, this is how terrain has impacted my life, it's in those moments where I know I'm exactly where I need to be.
All right, Terrain, Spokane, Ginger, Ewing. Man, that was Steve Hickey and Salman Abukashi, and you edited that, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a really good project to edit. Ginger had a lot of good stuff to say.
And all the stuff that came out of Spokane. So Francis Scott, they named the elementary school over there after a black woman, Francis Scott. He did that. Jarrell Haynes, who's now the civil rights officer, city of Spokane, and now Ginger Ewing. Now, what are some of your takeaways from like these stories? I mean, you came when we first connected, like you say, you were making, and you still do, making films, about cowboys and the Wild West and everything else. And then we connected. I'm like, yo, I got these black stories out of Spokane. How can we make them shake? And you've done an excellent job on all three of them.
Well, thank you. I think the first video that we worked on together, it definitely took me a little time to get used to telling real stories, because I'm more used to telling fake stories or written narratives, cowboy movies, whatever. And I've never worked on something that's real and that's human and that's, impactful like that. And so, the first video, it took a little trial and error to get it right. But once we did, I think I've got a good handle on what Converge, who Converge is, and what the goal here is. And I have a really good time editing, and it gets better each time too,
Definitely gets better each time. Also, you made it down to Belize with us too.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was the greatest moment of my life up until now. That was awesome.
All right. So one other thing here before I let you go, I know we're going to go a little bit overtime here, is we thought that this is a great opportunity for us to kind of show off your skills as a cinematographer. All right. You guys can go ahead and clap.
Thank you very much.
So all of this stuff, this is Brady's reel, everything. And I kept asking him, I said, man, you shot everything that I'm seeing here? And he's like, yeah, I shot everything. I must have asked you like 5-6 times, right?
Yeah. Yes,
man,
I did.
22 years old, man. I mean, the stuff you're shooting is amazing.
Well, thank you. The credit doesn't all go to myself. My buddy Colton and I have been making movies together since we met in high school. He was from Alaska. I was from Montana. We both were kind of outcasts or, misfits. And so we found each other and started just making movies the way that we like to watch movies. And, he directed the World War II one that you probably saw a couple clips in there. And I direct all the cowboy ones. And we just kind of make it work, Man,
well, you're definitely making it work. And, welcome here. Converge, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Big shout out to Gary Washington up there.
Thank you, Gary.
Hey, man, Gary's the plug, by
Thank
the
you,
way.
Gary.
You know what I'm saying? Gary, man, he's brought a lot of good people around us over here at Converge. We're over time. I want to tell you thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a blessing.
Good stuff. Hey, look, we're going to get ready and get out of here. Reminder, I'm out tomorrow, but G. Prez Asprey's sitting in with Trey Holiday. So looking forward to another great morning update show. I'll be back on Thursday. And yeah, on that note, I want to remind everybody, go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rise.